I once watched a trader lose everything in just 17 seconds. Not 17 minutes. Not 17 hours. 17 seconds. And it was all because of the very tool he trusted to protect himself. I want you to imagine, sitting at your desk right now, fingers hovering over the keyboard, heart pounding just a little faster than normal, because this trade feels right. You've done the homework, charts analyzed, probabilities stacked in your favor, the market telling you a story that few retail traders can read. You place your entry, that rush of commitment coursing through your veins. And then, because you're disciplined, because you've been drilled in every trading course and every YouTube tutorial that risk comes first, you place your stop loss, the proverbial safety net, right where it should be, below the obvious support or above the obvious resistance. You breathe a quiet sigh of relief. You've done everything right, or so you think. Then it happens, slowly at first, almost teasingly. The price drifts against you. Not a catastrophic collapse, just enough to touch your stop. Your account takes the hit. And just like that, you're out of the trade. Your perfect analysis, your hours of preparation, all gone in a flash. And then comes the part that really makes your stomach twist. The market reverses, skyrockets in the exact direction you predicted, and the profit you should have captured evaporates in front of your eyes. You're left staring at your screen, hands trembling, asking yourself, how did this happen? I followed all the rules. This is the silent massacre happening to retail traders every single day. And almost no one is willing to tell you why. Most trading education teaches you that stop losses are your shield, your protection, your ticket to controlling risk. That tight stops are discipline, that placing them at technical levels guarantees safety. On the surface, it sounds logical, professional even. But here's the problem. Following the rules doesn't protect you from market mechanics. It often makes you the easiest target. Richard Wyckoff, one of the most brilliant market minds in history, spent decades studying this very phenomenon. Wyckoff wasn't a theorist in an ivory tower. He started as a stock runner at 15, observing titans like Rockefeller and Carnegie, interviewing legends like Jesse Livermore. He saw the market as it really is, a battlefield where large operators manipulate price and liquidity, hunting retail positions like predators. He decoded the choreography of accumulation and distribution, the push and pull of big money that retail traders never see. And when he spoke about stop losses, he wasn't giving theory. He was issuing a warning born of real-world observation. Your stop loss isn't protection. It's often your executioner. Wyckoff noticed a painful truth that most traders never learn until it's too late. Most retail traders use stop losses blindly, placing them at obvious technical levels where everyone else does. And guess what happens when hundreds, maybe thousands of stops cluster at the same level? The big operators see them. They target them. They push price just enough to trigger those stops, capture your liquidity, and then let the market move in the direction you were originally right about. This is called a shakeout in Wyckoff terminology, a systematic clearing of weak hands before the real move begins. If you don't understand this, you'll keep donating your capital to the players who do. You'll continue being stopped out, watching perfect trades slip through your fingers, and blaming luck or your own skill, rather than the mechanics behind why it keeps happening. So today, we're going to dive into Wyckoff's 5 fatal stop-loss mistakes, the traps that destroy profitability for traders who think they're disciplined. Once you understand these, you won't just place stops differently. You'll see the market differently. You'll recognize the traps before you step into them. And more importantly, you'll start positioning yourself with the players who consistently win. What would you do if you realized your stop loss, the tool meant to protect you, was the reason you were losing? Comment your thoughts below. I want to know. And now, let's step into the first fatal mistake, the one so baked into trading education that almost everyone misses it entirely. The market doesn't care about your rules. It doesn't care about your discipline. And it will take everything you've earned just to teach you a lesson in humility. Let's talk about the first fatal mistake, and it's one that kills more traders than any single market move: placing your stop loss at obvious technical levels. You've been trained to do this: below support, above resistance, round numbers, previous swing lows, moving averages, Fibonacci retracements. Every charting course, every textbook, every pro trader video tells you the same thing: place your stop here, because this is logical, this is safe, this is disciplined. And that's exactly why it fails. Because you're not trading in a vacuum. You're trading a market that remembers. A market where hundreds, maybe thousands of retail traders have placed their stops in exactly the same spot. Wyckoff called this a trap before it even happened: the shakeout. He observed that big operators, the real money, the players who can move the market, don't just act randomly. They hunt stops. They push price just enough to clear weak hands, absorb liquidity, and then unleash the real move. And in that moment, your stop isn't protection, it's your surrender. You're giving them the position you wanted, just before the market proves you were right. I want you to visualize this. Imagine a stock pulling back to an obvious support level. Retail traders everywhere see a perfect buy zone and place stops just below. The operators need to buy millions of shares. If they just push the price up aggressively, they'll run out of liquidity. They can't fill their orders efficiently, so they nudge the price down slightly, triggering all those clustered stops. Market sell orders flood the tape, panic sets in, and retail traders are stopped out en masse. Then the operator's buying is complete. Price rockets. Everyone who was stopped out watches helplessly as the trade they analyzed correctly unfolds without them. Wyckoff called it clearing the weak hands, but you can call it heartbreaking. Now, here's where the inner conflict starts. Because deep down, you know the market isn't unfair. It's not personal. Yet every time this happens, it feels personal. Your rules betray you. Your discipline feels hollow and doubt seeps in. Was my analysis wrong? Am I missing something? And that doubt is dangerous. It compounds faster than any price action. Wyckoff understood this. He said, "If you cannot think like the operators, you will always be at their mercy." Which brings us to the second fatal mistake: using stops that are too tight relative to market volatility. Tight stops, the holy grail of supposed risk management. We all want them. They feel safe. They let you take bigger positions. They create the illusion of precision. But here's the paradox. The tighter your stop, the more often it will be hit. And most of the time, it will be hit by nothing more than the natural wiggle of the market. Markets breathe. They oscillate. They test, retest, push, and pull. Tight stops turn you into a victim of this natural rhythm. You're not trading the market. You're trading your anxiety. Every small fluctuation triggers an exit you don't want, eroding both your capital and your confidence. Imagine trying to surf while gripping your board so tightly that the first wave tosses you off. That's a too tight stop in a volatile market. Wyckoff would say, if you can't afford to place your stop where it should be according to market structure, don't take the trade. It's brutal, but true. And here's the kicker. Many traders use tight stops because they think they're being safe. They risk a fraction of their account per trade. But the result? 1,000 little wounds that add up psychologically and financially. You start second-guessing yourself, losing trust in your analysis, and feeling like the market is a chaotic, unfair force. When in reality, the problem was never the market. It was the mismatch between your stop placement and the natural behavior of price. The psychological toll here is massive. You know you're right, yet the market punishes you. You feel powerless, and the emotional impact is compounded every single time it happens. Wyckoff would observe the tape, read the behavior, and tell you, Survival and success in trading come from respecting the natural motion of the market, not imposing rigid rules on it. Give the market room to breathe, and give yourself the freedom to stay in trades that work. That's where profitability starts, not with rigid control, but with strategic patience and intelligent risk placement. And that, my friends, is the paradox. The very tool designed to protect you, your stop loss, can be your executioner if you place it where everyone else does, or if it's too tight for the natural volatility of the market. The emotional conflict, the tension, the doubt, all of it originates from misunderstanding this simple yet brutal truth. But we're not done, because understanding the mistakes is one thing, surviving them and learning how to think like Wyckoff is another. And that brings us to fatal mistake number 3, where most traders' understanding of what a stop loss actually is completely unravels. Have you ever been stopped out right before a trade moved perfectly in your favor? Share your story below. I want to see how many of us have been quietly hunted by the market. Most traders think that taking a loss is a failure, but in reality, losing the wrong way is far worse than being wrong itself. Let's talk about the third fatal mistake: treating your stop loss as a guarantee of safety rather than a level of invalidation. This is subtle, but it's the trap where many traders unknowingly sign over their control to the market. Most of us place a stop, breathe a sigh of relief, and mentally check out. My risk is managed, we tell ourselves. I'm safe. But that's an illusion. A stop loss is not a shield. It's not a guarantee that the market will behave politely. Wyckoff understood this better than anyone. He watched the tape, read the behavior of both large operators and retail traders, and saw a brutal truth. The market will expose every weakness, every assumption, every rigid rule you cling to. A stop loss is simply the line that tells you your trade idea is invalid. It's a signal, not a sanctuary. Consider this scenario. You enter long at a breakout and place your stop below the breakout point. The market moves in your favor, then tests a new support level, higher than your original stop. If you cling to the original stop, you risk more than necessary. If you move the stop further away when price goes against you, hoping it will return, you're no longer trading intelligently, you're gambling. Wyckoff was ruthless about this. Hope is not a strategy. If the market tells you you're wrong, accept it, cut the loss, and reset. The fourth fatal mistake is about timing. Placing your stop loss too early, before the market structure has fully formed. Here's where patience becomes power. Entering a trade prematurely and setting a stop based on an incomplete picture is like setting a tripwire in the dark. The market tests, probes, and manipulates the weak hands first. Wyckoff called this the phase of accumulation and shakeouts. If your stop is planted too early, you'll be harvested long before the genuine move begins. Waiting for structure isn't hesitation. It's strategic survival. And finally, the fifth trap: letting ego dictate your stop placement. I've seen it too many times. Traders refusing to take a loss, moving stops wider and wider in denial, thinking they can outsmart the market. Wyckoff would call this folly. The market doesn't negotiate, and your ego doesn't pay the bills. Discipline, adaptability, and humility are the hallmarks of survival. A stop loss should never be a wish or a prayer. It should be a clear framework of invalidation informed by volatility, structure, and operator behavior. Here's the cinematic truth. Most trading videos will never tell you. The market is not random. It's a living, breathing entity shaped by the intentions of the large operators and the predictable behavior of retail traders. Every stop loss that's too obvious, too tight, misused, or ego-driven becomes a source of liquidity for someone else. Every time you respect structure, account for volatility, and align yourself with the rhythm of the market, you take a step out of the slaughterhouse and into the game of strategic advantage. Wyckoff's genius was in seeing this clearly, in translating it into rules that go beyond charts or percentages. He understood the psychology of the herd, the choreography of big money, and the subtle traps that catch the unwary. And that's why today, understanding these 5 stop-loss mistakes isn't just about surviving. It's about seeing the market as it truly is. So here's your takeaway. Your stop-loss is a tool, not a talisman. It should be informed, flexible, and respected, but never worshipped. It protects you only when you understand why it exists, when you use it intelligently, and when you align it with the natural rhythm of the market. Make your stops reflect structure and volatility, not fear or ego. Stay disciplined, stay humble, and always remember, the market rewards the patient and prepared, not the panicked. Have you ever realized you were giving your money away with perfectly logical stops? Comment your story below. Let's see how many of us have been quietly hunted by the market. Remember, trading isn't about never losing. It's about never losing the way Wyckoff warned you against. Stay sharp, stay disciplined, and above all, stay aware. Because the market is always watching, and the smart player survives.